are we all doing? Thought might as well just start it here. Just doing a normal stream. Just doing a nice. I don't know. This is a pretty normal stream, but an innocent stream. We've got our grapes ready, and our wine. So we'll just thought we'd just get it started. How are we all? It's a bit warm. I'm a bit warm. A bit kind of muggy. Eating in an eclair sounds fucking grand. I just had a whole load of pasta, which is always good before doing anything. Thank you, Kian. This is a Sri Lankan shirt, given to me by someone a while back. It's nice, isn't it? So I think because of the heat. Oh wait a second, my wardrobe door's still open. I'm gonna close it, and then I'm gonna pour wine. We're just normal men. We're innocent men. Got our frozen grapes. One of them is too big to swallow whole, but the other is possible. And we've got a wine which a little bit more expensive than I used to go in for. I went for £7. It was on deal from £8.50. So it might be good. Let's see. That's Chenin Blanc. Is it sorry? Is that any better for you? It was a bit quiet. Is that volume better for people? Yeah, so this wine is Chenin Blanc Dynamite. Chenin Blanc wine of Wellington. And yeah, fair trade. Let's see if it's good. I had what will definitely be my last bit of field work today. So you know, a bit of justification for drinking on a Thursday night, a bit of celebration for completing that stage. As if I need the justification, but it's there anyway. It's decent wine. I got another good one. We've been on a roll with the good wines recently. Fun time Thursdays, yeah. So you know, good wine. What's been going on then? What are we gonna talk about today? Anything fun? I guess. What happened? What happened now other than the Denmark tweet? I don't know. Nothing happens to me, really. People mad about the Denmark tweet? You can't be mad at me when I'm right. I'm afraid that's illegal. Yeah, I was correct. You know. Yeah, we're nearly at Friday. We're nearly there for another week. Shall we just start with a tune? Just to warm us up a bit and see what's happened, see what conversations and folk want to talk about before we dive in. I can't really think of anything to say now, so we might as well just start with a tune. There we go. A nice wee. I've got the frozen grapes in the wine. Don't worry, that's all sorted. Frozen grapes in the wine. There we go. Should do. Yeah, Davil, you're right. I should do. What I should do is do relax, chill slash. Beats to relax slash study to, and upload them there, and then I can reel in those views with that. So, do I ever listen to? I'm afraid I don't listen to that. Unfortunately, I don't know what that is. But thanks for the sweet jams. Sweet jams are always fun. So how is everyone in the chat going? Vosh times Freddy Fish playthrough type beat. I don't know what that means, Davil. I'm sorry. I should have planned something to say to start with, or something to think of. No worries. It's actually Freddy the Fish. I don't know what that means. Saw lots of unions versus consumers discourse from right-wingers and RMT strikes. Was interested to know if that's an argument that only comes up since neoliberalism, if it's older. I don't know about. I don't think it would be something that would. I imagine that's something that goes on older. That's older than neoliberalism, though. I'd imagine it's something that it's not exactly inconsistent with neoliberalism. One thing I have seen which has annoyed me was regarding RMT, and there's big rail strikes in Scotland right now, and a load of Scottish nationalists are blaming blaming London bosses for being against Scotland, because the strikes are striking against the Scottish government. And obviously, despite Scotland of course being a progressive heartland, that's bad when Scottish workers strike against their own union because they're in the thrall to London bosses. A good example there why Scottish nationalism isn't as progressive as many people like to point out. Why Scottish nationalism is, in my view, a cul-de-sac of radical politics. Which is probably the take that'll bring me. When JD Pond finally becomes a thing, Scotland will be in charge. When JD Pond becomes a thing, I will be in charge because I'm the JD in that situation. I'm writing quite an intense script with this nice background cam. That's nice. Yeah, chill beats to relax / seize the means of production. I like that. I was recently shown a disco version of the Internationale, and it is absurd that it took 28 years of my life before I heard a disco version of the Internationale. Because it's great, and it's entirely my vibe. I have not heard the reggae version. I probably would like the reggae version, but probably not as much as the disco version, because I do like disco. Yeah, it's been a fun old time in Scottish politics the past few weeks. Just last week there was the huge budget announcement, which basically was a whole load of austerity. The Scottish government imposing a load of austerity on local authorities and things like that. Oh god, can I find the Scottish? Let's see if I can find the disco disco Internationale right now. I mean, you're right. I can't mention disco Internationale without providing it for you. That would be cruel of me. The Internationale, but disco. There we are. That's the disco version there. I'll leave Davil to provide the reggae version if he can. Can see that the John Duncan paper now, Scottish nationalism, a political wax route. I mean, if I was gonna do a provocative title on dealing with Scottish nationalism, it would be something like Scottish nationalism, fucking bourgeois politics. Maybe without the fucking in the title. I don't know. I don't know if many academics papers have fucking in the title. Am I a gamer? I'm not. I mean, I like Zelda games. And I like Mario Kart, and I'm astoundingly good at Mario Kart. I know lots of people claim to be good at Mario Kart. I am astoundingly good at Mario Kart. That's about the extent of my gaming, and that in D&D. Yeah, I mean, I do like D&D. It's true. It's been a while since we last had our Monday night games. Hey, thank you, Casey. That's kind of you. Stick around. We're oh hi, Darling Sierra. Yeah, that's Darling Sierra. Yeah, it's been a while since the Monday night game's been played, but I do enjoy that. Favorite D&D class? I don't know because I've only really played 3 campaigns, 2 campaigns and a one shot. I've not played D&D for that long. This is only about a year since I played it. Hi, hey JD, are you in favour of Scottish independence? Well, I mean that's what we were just talking about. At this point, my concern with Scottish independence, and I'll come back to D&D in a second. My concern with Scottish independence is that for or against, I don't really care. I don't think it's a particularly useful mode of politics for the Scottish left to organise around, and it's been so far a political cul-de-sac for the Scottish left, which has led to things like people claiming that union action against the Scottish government is anti-left wing because it's from London bosses and shit like that. And this isn't just like a unique thing. This is a long-standing history of like Scottish independence movement has had a problem with that kind of anti-union activity. And I think that I think, to be harsh, it is simply bourgeois politics in its most pure sense, in the sense that Marx would have talked about it. It's the agitating around trying to get from one distant neoliberal state to another distant neoliberal state. And I don't think it's a particularly useful thing for Scottish people to spend all of their time concerned about. There are much bigger issues in the world than which distant neoliberal state oppresses us. But on the other hand, it would be funny if the UK stopped existing. And that's basically the strongest argument for the Scottish independence, is that it might be quite funny. Don't think that's a solid sort of basis for political action, but it is undeniably, it would be quite funny. Mark spoke about it must be bourgeois, Robinson later light. Yeah, okay, Ken. Sure. Of course, Marx didn't talk about Scottish independence, but bourgeois politics in the sense of like politics which is organised around bourgeois interests and goals. So, you know, fire Robinson laser eyes back at you. Yeah, what was I saying? Yeah, D&D classes. So the class I've played most is a barbarian, which is just fun, and yeah, again. The good thing about being something like a fighter or a barbarian when you've not played much D&D is you don't have to worry about all the things that spells have to do. Like looking at spells and everything fucking in D&D, and you're just like, I don't have the capacity to deal with this right now. I want to play a guy who walks up and hits people and then hits them again, and then higher levels you can hit them a third time sometimes, and it's great. And I enjoyed that. So I've enjoyed playing that, but the problem is like going on, you do get kind of jealous of some of your friends who have like better more like can do sort of fun magic stuff, and you're just like, I can hit people. I'll just go up and I'll hit this person. What am I gonna do this turn? Well, I'm gonna hit them, and then the next turn, I'm also probably gonna hit them. But I did do in the one shot I did with SK the Crusader on his stream was a rogue fighter multi-class, and that was a very fun thing because you could do lots of fun things, and because like if you put the charisma and the persuasion up really high, you can do lots of dumb like stupid shit when you're like not in fights but doing the more roleplay stuff, and I enjoyed that. But I'll have to try a wizard or something at some point, see what that's like. A bard I've never like. I've never thought like a bard would be an interesting thing to do, except I had an idea for a character, 2 different characters, and either paladin or bard, and the character would have a very different vibe depending on which they were, and like the paladin, that the bard would be like a sort of agitator who'd go town to town and agitate against whichever fucking oppression, communist shit was going on in the villages, and like you'd use the bard powers to like convince folk and like stir folk up and shit like that, and it's like that would be quite fun. Or you'd do a paladin where you were like filled with the spirit of the spirit of communism, and that's where you'd be like a paladin of communism, and that would be quite fun. But that would be I feel like that would be a more serious role. That would like any sort of fun you'd get out of it would be like people reacting against how seriously you take yourself as a paladin, whereas the bard, it would be the other direction. But aside from that, I've never really thought a bard would be that fun to play. I don't know. It is fun to play a character who just hits things hard, and one of the benefits of playing like a barbarian who's not the smartest in the world is that you don't have to take notes, and it's in character for you not to remember what's going on, because your character wouldn't. A paladin of communism I think would be quite funny, but you'd have to do it in like a really serious way. You'd have to like play the paladin as very taking himself very seriously, and I think that would be quite funny itself. Yeah, I think that would be quite fun. I feel like you could fix that problem in D&D by just making a weapon that shoots sword Zelda style. Yeah, I mean, I'd be into that. Yeah, Matt Holland saying it took me a while to warm to spellcasters too, but they're so much fun when you get used to it. I mean, I'm getting that impression as well, like, once you get the hang of all the things that's going on, then it's quite fun. Oh yeah, Davil, I saw you talking about, yeah, Robinson's idea of Robinson's theories on Scotland, and the Scottish were a bit odd. Probably been asked before, I've ever tried Disco Elysium. I played like the first 5 minutes of it, and it's not that I got bored. I don't have that much time to play games, and I didn't have enough time to get into it. But it seemed quite fun, and people are always telling me to play Disco Elysium. Mark's failed to consider Scotland being overrun with unicorns. Hello, Ryan A. Welcome. Welcome to the stream. We're currently talking a mixture between D&D and the limits of Scottish nationalism as a political cause. One of them is much more fun than the other, and that's the D&D. TWT this year? Yep, I'm going to the World Transform this year in Liverpool. I'll be there. Got my tickets already. Quite excited. I really enjoyed the World Transform last year. It was fun. Welcome, Altair. Welcome to the stream. Again, just been talking D&D and Scottish nationalism. The two genders. But yeah, I'm hoping that this Monday we'll be back on with our D&D, which is, for anyone who doesn't know, is at Monday's midnight British time, and like 7 o'clock one of the American times. I don't know. Hey, good luck, Ryan, in your history exam. Yeah, I don't know the American times. Fake times. The don't get you started on Scottish nationalism. Yeah, sure. Yeah, it can be an issue, especially when you're going across massive time zones. It's the time zones that cause the problem with them. 6 p.m. PST. Don't know what PST is, but it's then. Thank you, darling Sierra. Yeah, it's weird. Why is this that suddenly like dwarves are Scottish? Where's this come from? Like, I don't know why in popular media dwarves have suddenly been. I don't have anything against it. Is it like a particular gruffness? Like in all of the in Lord of the Rings, like fucking yeah. But Tolkien doesn't say. Does Tolkien say, "Oh, these dwarves talk in a Scottish accent"? Like, I'd be surprised if he did. I mean, it seems to be like in the films they just did it for some sort of choice. Now everyone just is doing it. Yeah, John Rhys Davies, I guess. Yeah, other than Alba bad. Alba is bad. He implies it. He implies that the Scottish are dwarves. It's interesting, isn't it? It's a very I don't like the idea of Tolkien implying they're Scottish. Aye, these dwarves are Scottish, yeah. Yeah, it's weird. Like, as one of those things, like as playing D&D, because Scottish is used as a fantasy sounding like accent in a lot of D&D like podcasts. It's like, oh, we've got to make this species sound fantasy, give them a Scottish accent. I've deliberately not used Scottish accents in all of my characters except the first character I ever played, which was just Shrek. Aside from Shrek, I haven't really. I've deliberately tried to use different accents just to sort of, just because I'm kind of annoyed that my accent gets used as a shorthand for being fantasy. It's like all these people just use your normal voice. You sound weird and freakish enough, like. Yeah, I feel like the Irish appear in Fantasy Dabble usually when it's like fairies and stuff, isn't it? Like, it's a weird sort of thing. There must be some interesting studies on like collective imaginations of how folklores sound. Isn't that the problem with all fantasy? Make everything a British Isle accent? I guess so. Warhammer dwarves could be an idea for that. Why not start? Oh, someone's like, if you want, can you have a Bostonian or a New Yorker dwarf? I mean, if you like Dimension 20, if you like Brennan Lee Mulligan's, I think it's in the series with called The Seven, where one of the characters plays like an Italian American sounding dwarf called Ostentatia Wallace. That's quite fun. That's quite a fun one. Oh man, I hate it when people assume Ireland is purely Fey mythology. Yeah, sure. One of my favorite mythologies in the island in Scotland is the Trows in Shetland, which are just like little wee beasts, like little trolls that like kidnap people when they're walking on the moors at night time, like fiddlers and stuff, and they force them to play the fiddle. And if you don't play the fiddle well enough, they'll eat you. But if you play the fiddle well enough, they'll just have a wee dance and let you go. And I think that's just great. What a fun little bit of mythology. It's just these wee guys who love the fiddle so much. If you fuck up, you'll be eaten. I mean, imagine if you get caught and you're not even a fiddle player. You're like, fuck, I'm fucked. Yeah, it's a fair deal. I mean, like, fucking, and most of the folk in the Shetland Islands seem to play the fiddle anyway, except that the one accordion player who's fucked. The rest of them will be fine. Actually, actively making the Scottish more musical. Yeah. I'm always quite interested in, and one of the sort of things that's always interested me is like the musical anthropology of like Scottish and Irish music as it went across to the Americas and sort of mixed with local music traditions and mixed with black music emerging from the south, and the anthropology of like the Appalachian Mountains and how that sort of the type of fiddle music changed as it traversed through the Appalachian Mountains. I saw like this really good fiddle player once who became bluegrass. Not just bluegrass, it became like it merged with every kind of musical tradition, and basically is the emergence of popular music today. It got the banjo from Africa, from slaves being brought up through the south of the US, and all that merged and like mixed with slave music and became like foundations of country and jazz and blues and all that. It's super interesting. For bluegrass, it's really interesting just like trace a singular reel and how a singular reel is changed and paced and like how different tempos and timbres got like mixed together to make bluegrass. It's really interesting. I always find that shit interesting. Well, we try another song. Let's shove on another song, and then I'll eat these grapes and get another wine. How should we start this one? How should we start this? I feel like this is when I request genres, people often request like a genre I can't do, which is bad thinking on my part. But what about like, I don't know, like what should I start with? Like a chord sequence, a drum beat, a bass line? Any ideas on what kind of like starting point for whatever we're doing will come from? I'll leave you guys to think about that. I mean, I can't. Fat baseline. Let's do a fat baseline. There we go. That's a fun wee one. As with everything, it ended up disco. I'll finish this wine, eat these grapes, and then get some more frozen grapes, because as everyone knows, anyone who wasn't here last time might not know this actually, if you put frozen grapes in your wine, you can chill it without diluting it. From me to you. Swallow the grapes. Well, I can swallow some of the grapes. One of the grapes is undoubtedly too big, but I'll swallow some of the grapes. Hold on. Fuck. Missed. Bounced off my teeth. This time. Oh, that was just on the edge of being too big. The rest of them are getting eaten. Oh yeah. Yeah, this is, you can have both grapes and the wine. And fruit soaked in alcohol is always nice. Oh, yeah. Tinfoil, I will, flirting with death on stream. Yeah, I mean, this is the danger stream. This is why people tune in, isn't it? Yeah, I'll share some of the early thoughts, because that will be the next video. So I'll share some of the early thoughts about that once I get back. Next video is going to be on the Adam Conover show, because it's garbage, and it made me mad. So I thought, what's a healthy way of dealing with this emotion? Make a video. So I'll talk about that in a second. Yeah, so Adam Conover show. It's bad. So I was never like a big fan of I was like never a fan of Adam Ruins Everything. I never really saw it, so I had no like emotional investment going in. That I think some people might be more disappointed in this than I was, but yeah, I was like. I'd heard that Adam Conover was a good egg, basically, and I watched the show, and like the show starts with Adam Conover talking to Obama and being like, "Oh, people might see that you're producing this show and like might think that I'm not allowed to talk about things, but you can assure people that right now that I'm allowed to talk about anything I want and you won't stop me." As if that's how ideology works. As if like the whole problem isn't necessarily that Obama will stop Adam Conover talking about things, but that what he does talk about is not gonna pose any significant issue for Obama in any way. beyond very brief mentions of things like drone strikes. So that is a problem. And I think sort of the basic... I'm not going to get into full sort of things on this today because I'm going to make a video on it. But I think like the sort of two basic problems with the show are that firstly it's dealing with an outdated question. It's dealing with the idea, the very American politics idea of like good small government versus big government. What's better? Is small government better or is big government better? What is it? And that's just not the question. That's just not a question that has much relevance to us. Certainly not. I mean, it has no relevance to me. It has no relevance to like radical politics in any sense because it doesn't really deal with what the issues are. Like what is this? I mean, it has a problem with trying to define the difference between the government and the state. That's a sort of simple like thing that it doesn't really. It talks about like government employees. What is the government? What is the state? That's at no point is that dealt with at all. So that's just kind of an annoying thing. But like this small government versus big government thing is just, it's not relevant for me. It doesn't deal with what a state is or what a government is in any valid sense, which leads it to some really liberal confusions. And another part of this problem, because it's trying to navigate like, sometimes it's basically trying to come to the conclusion that big government can be better than small government. That, despite some of its protestations of being like, sometimes the big government does bad things, and it's like, yeah, man, sometimes the government does bad things. Will we explore why? No? Okay. But basically the argument is like, government is good sometimes if we the people make it good, which makes me frustrated in a few ways that I'll get into. But the way that he does this is basically he gets a bunch of swell guys and gals to talk about their jobs in the government. It's like, you're a swell guy, why don't you talk about your swell job? And this can be innocuous a little bit when, I mean, not entirely innocuous, but somewhat innocuous when it's like, look at these doctors who work for government medical facilities, or look at these like FDA vets or something. They're just swell guys doing swell things. But sometimes it's the military, and the military are the swell guys, or sometimes it's the swellest guy of all, Barack Obama, and he's the swellest. And this is an issue for a lot of reasons, because these guys, they may be swell, but they're bad and doing bad things, and there is not all that much analysis of why these people are doing bad things. I mean, there's one part of the show where he goes to, and I will get to the wine in a second. He goes to like where GPS is sort of administered from, this like tiny military base where like 20 people control the world's GPS, and he's given this fucking softball interview to these guys. It's like, you do GPS here, that's so crazy, that's so amazing. This guy's only 20, how can he control GPS? And I'm just like sitting there going, Adam, this is horrifying. What you're showing us right now is fucking horrifying. The idea that the US military has the entire world's GPS in the palm of its hands is not a story for swell guys. It's a story for fucking global revolution, my friend. This is not a fucking fun thing. No matter what ukulele music you put in the background, this is not a fun story of swell guys doing swell things. This is horrific. And these fucking hollow-boned, cold-blooded military officers that you're talking to are not the swell guys that you think they are. And even if they were, it wouldn't matter. That bit is one of the worst bits of the show. But like I say, I'll talk more about this in the actual video. I think I'm trying to, because I don't want to be just like a video of me reacting to things in the show and being like, this is fucked, which it could easily be. I'm trying to like get an angle to produce something sort of educational out of it, something productive. So I'm trying to maybe like craft some sort of critique of the notion of the state out of it. I've reading some fucking Gramsci and some Federici, and trying to like provide something to make it a worthwhile video beyond people enjoying me get mad, which it will be significantly that. It's a bad show. Did I watch the World Cup qualifiers? I did not watch the World Cup qualifiers. No, I was. They were sometime this weekend or last weekend. I didn't watch them. I had a good weekend this weekend. I was out with my. I'll tell a story in 1 second once I've caught up with chat. But this weekend was fun. I'm going to sneeze. Yeah. Obama is like reverse Reagan. Instead of being a celeb and become president, he became the president and then celeb. Yeah, yeah. There is a bit in the there is a bit in the show which basically deals with what neoliberalism is, but does it in the very, as anyone who's a fan of this channel knows, inadequate way of defining neoliberalism as small state governance, which of course, as we all know, isn't the case. So that annoyed me on another level. Am I a football fan? I play football. Like, I've played football. I've been in like 5-a-sides teams. I like playing it. I don't follow any club because following a club in Scotland comes with, especially in the Central Belt, comes with a bunch of baggage that I do not want. But I like watching football. I like football. Yeah, I just didn't catch the games. I didn't really care about Scotland playing Ukraine or Wales playing Ukraine. I didn't really care about that. I didn't expect it to be a particularly great game. It's not investigative journalism, so framing it as some kind of all-access probe into government is silly, sketchy propaganda TV. I mean, it's difficult. Like, I feel this is. I think this may be a problem with like some of. I think like John Oliver and Jon Stewart. As much as I enjoy John Oliver, they get away with shit by framing themselves as comedians. Like, they can say, "Oh, I'm just a comedian, so don't expect rigor from me," and I think that's a bit of a cop-out. And it is especially a cop-out when you're doing something like the G Word, which is explicitly framed, like it's a comedy show, but it's explicitly framed as being like, let's get to the bottom of this, let's find the facts. And in the context of Adam Ruins Everything, which is, as far as I'm aware, a show about which is getting the facts. What's the truth here? What is the reality? We have these myths, what about the reality? And in that context, a show which is so obviously propaganda for in a very liberal, and I would argue, despite some of the protestations from some folk, is arguably neoliberal propaganda. Yeah, it's not a good show. It's a bad show. Which is, I guess, you could tell if it's produced by Obama. Fun fact, Alexander Fleming got really big into marketing Petri dish art with microbes. It's rumoured that he made a portrait of Queen Mary and also the Union Jack in an attempt to wow her. She was not impressed. That's quite fun. I like that. What a kind of grim but also hilarious fact. Yeah, it was a bad show. Am I a Christian? What are my thoughts on God? I'm not a Christian. I'm not religious at all. Don't believe in. Not religious. There's not much more to it than that. I don't think it doesn't play a part in my life. The baggage of Scottish football fandom. Oh, okay. Let's settle ourselves down and talk about sectarianism for a second. So this is the Scotland stream today, is it? So Scottish football is innately tied to sectarianism, in Scotland, there's a long history of sectarian violence between Protestant and Catholics, where historically Catholics were oppressed by the government, by the state of Scotland. Part of that is to do with colonialism and colonising Ireland, and the Ulster Scots colonialism of Ireland. And throughout the years, that has developed into sectarian violence, which has been attached to specific football clubs. In Glasgow, Celtic has been associated with Catholics, and Rangers with Protestants. In Edinburgh, Heart of Midlothian has been associated with Protestants, and Hibernian with Catholics. It's not quite as strong in Edinburgh for reasons, historical reasons, and like geographical reasons. It still exists for sure, but it's not quite as strong. But when you're in Glasgow, I'll open the stream first words, let's talk about it, cause, yeah, I mean, in Glasgow, someone asks you what football teams do you support, you're saying more than just like, isn't the Celtic fandom leftist? I don't think it's as simple as that. Like, the Celtic fans have historically stood much more to the left, it's true, and I wouldn't take that away, but it's been more like, they are more reactive against the particular kind of right-wing nationalism, Protestant nationalism of Rangers, and sometimes I feel like some of the way that Celtic utilises causes isn't for the sake of the causes themselves, but for the sake of competition or comparison with Rangers. I'm not 100% on that. But yeah, they definitely have a much more positive fan base than Rangers do, who are unionist, monarchist, often extremely right-wing, racist. I mean, that's not to say anyone who supports Rangers is, because it doesn't work like that, but it's a thing that's like, if you meet someone who's not at least a little bit embarrassed to be a Rangers supporter, it kind of makes you a bit nervous. Similar to like Chelsea in that way. And it's not quite as strong in Edinburgh. Like Hearts doesn't have that same level to it as Rangers does, and neither does Hibs. But yeah, it's all connected to sectarianism. So if you're like, you're getting your hair cut in Glasgow and someone asks you what football team you support, that's a loaded question sometimes, especially if you're like in a particular area near the football stadiums. So it's like the way of like the non-answer to that question is always like fucking Partick Thistle. Because if you say you don't like football, they start asking you about rugby, and nobody likes rugby. No, I'm not gonna talk about rugby. Yeah, I grew up in Renfrewshire and remember getting the special sectarianism assembly, and football colours were flat out banned at my high school. Yeah, we had football colours were banned at ours as well, even in Midlothian, the east side, because of fights and sectarianism and all that. It's grim. It's a grim fucking situation. It's stupid. John Oliver did an A+ segment on sex. Is that the SW sex work recently? So he gets points from me from that. Yeah, I mean, I like John Oliver. I think he does good work and does good segments. I enjoy John Oliver, but I do think, and you see this happen, I do think he kind of tries to have his cake and eat it too, when he's producing like good work which is well researched and journalistic while being entertaining work. You kind of have to accept at some point that you have the responsibility, a journalistic responsibility at that point, which I reckon he probably does on like a functional level. But still, like, whenever someone asks him a question and he goes, well, I'm a comedian, this is a comedy show, it's like, well, I don't think that's a particularly good, I don't think that's useful for anyone to repeat things like that. Like, I make YouTube videos, and I still hold myself to a standard in which I expect people to take me to task for things if I get shit wrong, and I'm careful about what I put out. And I wouldn't say, like, if someone challenged me on something, I wouldn't say, oh, it's just a YouTube channel. We're not exposed. We don't have much responsibility here. People watch it. People trust you. You have responsibility, and no amount of pretending that you don't is going to change that. There we go. And that was the sectarianism and John Oliver segment. I hope we enjoyed that. Yeah, I think John Oliver is more radical than most TV comedians. I have strong suspicion his writing team watch RedTube. I mean, I have a strong suspicion from the sort of formats and the way that John Oliver has adapted to it, that John Oliver probably watches enough video essays. Because you got that, remember during like first lockdowns when all of these shows went like filming in their houses, and it was quite obvious that they didn't know how to sort of navigate that. They didn't know how to navigate going without an audience. They didn't know how to make a joke like land without audience laughter. John Oliver and I think Seth Meyers, maybe got that flow better than other people did, and I've always suspected it's probably because those two have watched YouTube videos. It's true. He might be a furry with an otter persona. We're all pretty certain on that. Have I ever done a video on Settlers by Jay Sakai? I have not. I don't really do videos on books. If I'm doing any content on specific books, it'd be like a book review for Patreon. John Oliver is 100% a furry. Yeah, like fuck it. This is I'm taking this hard stance. John Oliver is a furry, and if he wants to disprove that to me at any point, he's welcome. John Oliver, this is an open invite. I know you watch, of course. So if you want to come on and prove that you're not a furry, just send me a message. And if you want to come on and say that you are a furry, what better way to do it than on a small to middling YouTube channel that you've probably never heard of? Pretty compelling case I make, isn't it? I believe that, yeah, I think one of John Oliver's writers was a former staff member for Some More News, or at least someone who'd written for both of them. So they probably know each other. Cannot say either way about the furry stuff. I mean, we can say with 100% certainty that he is a furry, and if he wants to sue me for it, prove it. What actually is a furry? Like, I've never fully understood it. I'll dare. I would maybe just Google that. For what's going on? We innocent, we normal, we're just normal men. Yeah, we're just normal men. We're innocent men, and we're just talking about furries. We've talked the themes. John Oliver or Cody? John Oliver. I don't think Cody's a furry. I don't get that vibe from him. John Oliver, you get the vibe. The themes of this stream: John Oliver, furries, sectarianism. Right, let's switch up the music. How should we start the next track? Should we start the next track with a drum beat, with a chord sequence, with a fucking lick? What are we thinking? Corey is a funny, and that's because he doesn't shave, yeah. Hey, Sinan, what's going on? To be fair, that is basically a John Oliver, that's true. For anyone who doesn't know, SK the Crusader, that's the person I was talking about earlier, whose stream I was doing the D&D one-shot on the other week, and you should go and follow him on stream and YouTube. Get him up to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. Fund really deserves that. So we got liquor chord sequence. Just got done with stream, now I have to edit a video, write a script, and write a podcast episode. Fucking busy times. Let's go for, since the void got in there first, let's go for a lick. Let's see what we can come up with. I'll mix up the genre next time because we've done quite a few similar sounding ones, but I'm liking the vibe, so we're keeping with this vibe for now. What's the guitar? I think it's an Epiphone Dot. I think you're right. It's one I got from a friend several years ago now. Bought it off a friend. I love it. It's a great guitar. It's one of my. It's a lovely guitar. It's very easy to play. It's cool. It's a nice guitar. This time of year, the ants have broken into my house and are in the process of burgling me of all my burgling me of all of my precious crumbs. Well, I for one welcome our ant overlords. Well, your cat. I appreciate your cat. Your cat and all cats. I'm glad to hear that. Thank you to your cat. Give them a wee pat from me. One thing I'm planning on doing is collating a bunch of the tracks from this these streams and putting them into like a Bandcamp track to download. For patrons will get for free, but like maybe putting it up for sale on Bandcamp. I think that would be a fun idea. The issue is just going through all the streams and doing that because it'll cost some work. But yeah, that sounds fun. All cats are beautiful, except those naked cats, and also Siamese cats. I can't be near Siamese cats because I'm so allergic to them that I die. I can't be in the same room as a Siamese cat. Some people are allergic to peanuts. I'm allergic to Siamese cats and guinea pigs. So if you want to assassinate me, use a Siamese cat or a guinea pig. Shoot it from a gun at me from a great distance, and it will kill me. Oh my god, Sinan, that sounds so. They just. I don't get it. I don't get those naked cats. I don't. They just. What does it feel like to touch them? It's just like, I mean, the whole fun of a cat is rubbing its little furry body. And if it's not got a little furry body, then what's the point? I just don't get it. I'm talking about cats, yet I do not have one here. I'm sure if we have streamed for long enough and I drink enough, the cat will make his way in here at some point. Yeah, okay. If you want me to say that you can. I'm not saying that for free. Yeah, we're talking cats. We're initially talking. The contentious issues are the cats that are lethal to me, which are Siamese cats, and naked cats, which are not lethal to me, but just I don't understand them. I don't understand what's the point of them. My cat barked out a dead mouse of my skylight. It's been there for a while now. Gross. That's gross. It's a gross thing for a cat to do. Yeah, okay. Look, I have some standards. What's wrong with Siamese cats? Nothing's wrong with them in principle. It's just I'm so allergic to them. If I am in a room with them, I die. The making ones may be hypoallergenic, but my flatmate's cat is. I'm not allergic to him, and I can rub him. I can rub my face on him, and it's fine. Siamese cats, I can't be within 20 feet of, or else my throat closes up and I have a massive asthma attack. It's just Siamese cats. I don't know what it is. Siamese cats and guinea pigs, two things that I can't go near, or else I have terrible asthma attacks. Yeah. I mean, one I do enjoy sometimes just taking the cat into the room and just lying down with him. It's quite fun. The cat when he's in this room wants to commit trouble, but if you rub his belly and he's enjoying it, he gets into this weird state of like, I want to cause trouble, but I'm also enjoying this belly rub too much. The thing is with my flatmate's cat is, I'm not really sure it's a cat. He's very weird. But anyway, that's cats. Hi, Akira. How's my heart today? Yeah, he likes belly rubs and butt scratches. How's my heart? What is this a reference to something? Something I've said previously. I think it's fine. I think my heart's fine. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, the biggest problem my heart had recently was on Saturday night when the night bus from I was in Edinburgh, and I was on a night out with my brothers and a bunch of folk, and I went home at 3 o'clock and the night bus didn't come, and I had to run like 6 kilometers at 3 a.m. to catch up with my brother and like sleep on his sofa. My heart rate was bad that night. Am I saying the cat is like Alvin Flang? Sorry, it's Alvin Flang. Okay. Okay, that makes more sense. You just find it a better question than how are you? That makes sense. Okay. I thought this was something that I'd missed, some sort of thing I'd mentioned in a previous where I had a terrible heart or something. I mean, it's fine. My heart's fine. No, Alvin Flang, is a creep. I don't think, is Anton a creep? Tamash, would you say Anton is a creep? I don't think he's a creep. I think he just likes belly rubs and butt scratches and eating hair. Alvin Flang is a fucking creep. He does wait for me at the bathroom door to lick my legs when I come out. Yeah, no, he's a creep. Yep, that's fair. He does wait for me so he can lick my legs when I come out in the shower. Yeah, he's a weirdo. He's a weird cat. He's a weird cat. What am I drinking? Oh, for those who come late tonight, drinking today, we have a fair trade Chenin Blanc. That's how you pronounce it. From Wellington. Bursting with juicy tropical aromas and lively citrus notes. I gonna be honest with you, I didn't pick up on those. It tasted like wine. But nice wine, tasty wine, good wine, fun wine. It was on deal from like £8.50 to £7. Good deal. You know what? You can't get that in Scotland. I was looking around for on deal wine when I was up in Scotland. I forgot you're not allowed to do on deal fucking alcohol in Scotland because we took things too far. Ruined it for the rest of us. Yeah, Anton is a dog. Anton is a dog in a cat body. He does cat things, but he also does weird dog things as well. And he is very cute. So that's the wine tonight. Another good thing about the frozen grapes in wine, it not only cools down your wine without diluting it. I don't know if you know that. If you put frozen grapes in wine, you can cool it down without diluting it. But you actually get a nice fun little grape surprise at the end of your wine. Alright. I'm gonna get more wine. I will come back. We will. If John Oliver wants to challenge me to swallow some whole grapes, balls in his court, grapes in his court. You know where I stand. I will be back in 1 minute. I'm gonna get some more frozen grapes from our wine, and then we'll come up with another track. Anyone got any requests or anything? Fire them in chat, and then we'll come back and see what's up. Oops, that's the wrong scene. Back soon. Look, you can try and get me to swallow another grape. You want me to swallow a grape? You can super chat for it. I'm putting up that. I'm establishing boundaries now. Before I die of grape swallowing. Anyway, got my more grapes. If John Oliver swallows olives, then he's a pervert. Because olives are gross. It's simply true. Let's change up the track. Let's see what I can come up with. like that, but I think I'm gonna make something a bit more chill to chat to. So I like that beat, and we're gonna move to something a bit chiller now. Sorry, this one's taking a while. And thank you, Watch Therapy, for the 22k. I want to get this beat right because I like this chord sequence. Watch out though. I once went to the hospital. Oh wow. Yeah, I'll bear that in mind. I'm going to get this fucking beat right, and then I will be right back with you. like that. That's a nice tune. That's a nice tune that we can vibe with while we chat. And you know, wine's still cool because of the grapes in it. This time I'm wine and you're sober. My friend, I have almost drank a bottle of wine. Good vibes. Yeah, we're sticking here for the good vibes. This is the whole point of these streams, is to cultivate the good vibes. We spend so much time on this channel with just the worst vibes. Just the most terrible fucking things. So it's nice, you know. What do you mean? This is a normal title. There's nothing suspicious about this title. This is just an innocent stream. We're just normal men here. We're just innocent men. Oh, Sean Tyson, that's really. I'm pleased to hear that. I mean, why is the title Normal Men, Innocent Men? If you haven't seen the video, just look up we're just normal men, innocent men. It's just a fun meme from British TV. What do I think? I mean, sponsorships. I mean, I don't think they're immoral, for sure. I mean, we're all here doing, like, we're trying to survive. Basically, everyone on YouTube here is trying to survive. I think you have to be somewhat discerning with the kind of sponsorship you're going for, because there's no ethical consumption under capitalism, and there's no ethical way to do endorsements. I mean, I don't get paid by Pluto Press, but I do get half price books from them, and anyone does who uses a code. So that's just like half price books. I don't feel bad about that, because they're a fucking they're a radical publisher who does good books. But there are some, like, the last offer for sponsorship I got was for like a company which supposedly did environmentally friendly, like, fucking VPN or something like that, and I didn't want to do the effort to examine who they were before accepting a sponsorship offer. So, and also, like, sorry, my thoughts are a bit scrambled right now, because, like I said, almost a bottle of wine. I think with some of the content I put out, I would feel weird about having a sponsorship in it. Like, the last big meaty video I did was about disability, and how disability is being in a constant state of class war, and how being disabled is being at the forefront of something that could reasonably be described as genocidal. And to go from that to, and you can find more about this from my sponsor Squarespace or whatever, would feel weird to me, which is not something that I would begrudge anyone else doing, but it's just, you know, it would maybe feel odd to me in those situations. I'd probably feel less weird about it doing the more sort of bloggy stuff, like the videos that have been like housing is fucked, education is fucked, because those have tended to be more personal, as personal as I get here. And I would feel less bad about sponsoring something that is more like me doing personal reflections, and then being like, yeah, it's a fucking sponsorship ad is fine there, because it doesn't affect anyone else. But some of the other stuff I do, I'd feel less comfortable doing that, which is more just an individual moral decision to me than anyone else. The bigger questions for sponsorships and things like that are questions about what we do, like sort of bigger structural questions about what we do on YouTube, which is sort of like stuff I talked about in that debate video. It's like, we are doing this on a capitalistic platform. Many of us are doing this as our sole means of income, and we are pushed into producing certain kinds of content to make money to survive. And looking at the ways in which sponsorships plays into that dynamics is maybe something I'd be interested to look at. But as away from like a model, I wouldn't, not necessarily, for sure not necessarily do I think sponsorships are immoral. I mean, a friend, one of my friends who's a YouTuber friend, messaged me a few weeks ago being like, I got a sponsorship offer from a company that does sells land in Scotland to people and gives them like a title for it, and they asked me if that was okay, and I was like, no man, no, that's not okay. No, that's shit. that's not immoral. No, don't do that. And he was like, yeah, I thought that sounded weird. But yeah, that as a rule, no. Of course, sponsorships aren't bad, and depending on how my job hunt goes in the next few months, I might have to take a few. But yeah, whatever. It sounds like an interesting video though. I'll read out your. Don't worry about sending stuff in the chat. I like it when people. The whole point of like, if people don't talk to me in chat, I have nothing to talk about. I riff off you guys. So send as much in the chat as you ever want to. You're saying, I want to get away from the immoral with that kind of work. You deserve to be able to pay rent. My general idea is that selling your image or vibe for a brand is disbeneficial in a few ways. One of my big ideas, and this is a very broad and verbose sense, is that I see a downside to some of my favourite leftist thinkers tying their content to having to sell something, taken up. Yeah, no, 100%, yeah. And I'd be lying if I said that there definitely isn't part of me that would have that would think in that way, that would worry about people would think less of me if I took a brand sponsorship. And there's a few sort of different things to untangle there, because not taking a brand sponsorship isn't, like we're talking about, isn't more legitimate than taking one. Like innately, it's not more legitimate. So the very image, the very idea that taking one or not taking one makes me feel more legitimate in myself is maybe not the best idea to have. Elijah, I can't remember. There's very. We're just chatting away. Nothing important. Probably. We're just talking about sponsorships. Yeah, I mean, I don't think, from my particular politics, I'm not sure if there's any kind of company that I would necessarily feel proud to sponsor me. Yeah, Sinan's saying he would never take a sponsorship because he has a day job. So in the sort of position I'm in right now, financially, is that I'm almost at a stage where I'm at a stage where I can pretty regularly pay my rent via YouTube, which is a wonderful place to be in. More than I'd ever anticipated I'd be able to be in. But if I come to the end of the PhD and I can't find a job, then something like a sponsorship is something that will probably be essential to actually live in. And the downside, like, whether there's a downside to tying your brand to, because we are, as much as anyone on the left might not want to think about it, we are producing a brand here. I have a brand. There's no way around that. And there is a potential downside to tying your brand to selling something, for both the legitimacy of what you produce and your sort of individual moral position as a person who wants to create left-wing critique. So it's a difficult sort of place to be in, and I do find it's something that's worth talking about, and I find people sometimes have quite simplistic views on it. So I'd be interested to see what you think about. It's a challenging place to be in. Sean's saying, all I want is ways of doing things on YouTube that materialistically benefits and doesn't disbenefit our goals as leftists, almost always sponsorships or capitalist companies. I think it's bad, but strategically I don't see having any income-pegged capitalist companies as disbeneficial. I mean, we are making stuff on YouTube, which is a platform, a capitalistic platform. The things that we produce here have a logic, a capital logic behind them to some extent. I mean, that doesn't delegitimize entirely anything we do, but it is a fact of the matter. It's why things like the videos on debate and the videos on YouTube drama, even as tangential as they are, debate and the one about Vosh and white supremacy, did so well because there's a logic behind that which keeps people on the platform, and it's a sort of capital, a logic of capital. So there is no escaping that, and you can't make yourself pure on this platform, as anywhere else, but I think YouTube more than other places. You can't make yourself pure here. I think that's something that some YouTubers who I've seen get somewhat poisoned have not, in my view, been aware, or not aware enough of how the things that they do are essentially still subject to capital logics. Like, I would be lying if I said the idea of doing a video on Adam Conover's new show isn't attractive to me because I think it will produce lots of views. And in my head, my subscriber count has been pretty stagnant for about 4 months now. So in my head, I'm thinking like, this could be a good video. This could be a good video which generates subscribers. And I want to counteract that to some extent by saying, I don't want it to just be me reacting to Adam Conover's because that's fucking easy content. I want to do something with that. But there's still that logic at play, and I can't deny it. And nobody can really deny that that's something that is at play. Maybe to some extent, some of the bigger YouTubers, maybe Abby or ContraPoints doesn't feel the same sort of urge to produce stuff because they have such a strong foundation already. But I mean, it's not something that we can avoid, especially when your fucking rent depends on it. It's a sort of weird position to be in. It's not unique because everybody's subject to these logics, but when your brand is producing left-wing content, to be so obviously subject to these sort of logics is a sort of weird tension to be in. Yeah. I mean, I think what you said has really interested me, and I'm going to read more in the sense that you're always cultivating a brand, and if you post here, you can't get away from. Yeah, that's true. Sinan, you shouldn't do drama. You, in your position, with both a job and your stream is good, I think you're in a strong position where you don't have to do drama. I would be sad to see you do drama, and that's why I've only limited my drama to very few posts, because I just don't like it. I don't think it's useful, and I think your content is good enough that you don't need it. Does creating and maintaining a personalized brand feel creatively and personally limiting to you? As you said, you can't make yourself pure here. How do you keep it from affecting you psychologically? Oh, someone earlier asked if anyone from my academic life knows about the YouTube. Some people don't. It depends on the person. My supervisor doesn't, and I'm pretty glad of that, but some people do. Does it feel limiting? Not really. I talk about what I want to talk about generally. I've never had a thing that I felt like I shouldn't talk about because it would go against my brand in any sort of way. So not really, not in that sense. It's there's more like a notion that so I was talking I was talking to Noah Samson about this recently. We met up. He was in London. We met up and had a drink, and there's like a weird like moment when two people who know each other from an online circle meet in real life, and we have kind of different vibes. The vibe that I sort of emerges from my videos is, I think, quite a lot more serious than who I generally am as a person, which is like counteracted by my Twitter feed, which is just 100% bullshit. But it's like a weird sort of like, you become aware of parts of yourself that are being marketed and parts that aren't, and like you become aware of things like posting a photo in which you look good could be good for your YouTube, your money, because people like, oh, that person's hot, let's click on this profile. Oh, they've seen a YouTube channel and they click on that. And it's more sort of like a hyper awareness of what you're putting out rather than any sort of limitation. Maybe someday I will think of some limitation. Limitations, I think, more exist in the other direction, where I might feel limited to put out content for my academic stuff rather than for my YouTube stuff. I generally feel a lot more free to produce what I want to produce on YouTube, which is one of the reasons why I do it. I can write a thing about disability being class war, or about various things, about my fucking PhD thoughts that aren't published yet. I can produce them in a public facing way, which is interesting to me and to other people in a less limited environment. But yeah, I don't feel limited in that sense. It seems to me that having a YouTube channel of this size and quality might be useful to your brand as an academic. Yeah, I mean, this is another thing that's related to the last video on education. It's a lot easier to get an academic job if you have more than 10,000 Twitter followers, because you're then someone that the university can use as promotion. So there is an extent to that. The other side of that is they might view you as dangerous to have around. Right-wing press might say you've got this fucking radical teaching our kids who's tweeted about turning their kids trans or stuff, which I have done. So there's sort of a double-edged sword to it, but it is useful to that. And then like Eliza's saying, you start viewing it as a brand, and it's like, so in the video on neoliberal subjectification, there's a joke in which I talk about I am like a prime neoliberal subject. I have monetized a hobby. I've monetized a personality, which I'm selling to you right now and through these videos. And I'm doing that to sort of become an entrepreneur of myself. I'm selling myself to people, and it is gross in some level. But that's, I still, like, I legitimately love doing YouTube. I really do. I love making the videos. I love that I can drink wine and play guitar and make music and chat to people. It's a great thing to be able to do. But there's still that level where I'm selling myself to you here. Even if it's more than just that, there is still that there. Like, I'm not just selling myself to you, I'm doing other things, but I certainly am doing that thing. And it's a weird place to find yourself in, and I don't have any firm answers about what that means or anything, but yeah, it's an odd position to be in. So Nan's saying, so I'm releasing this weekend something that I've never done before, and part of my motivation is gaming the algorithm. I'm always, so this is something that I spoke about on the debate video. I'm not sure how much we can game the algorithm. I think that oftentimes when we think we're gaming the algorithm, it's us changing ourselves for the benefit of the algorithm, and the algorithm's gaming us. Not gonna say that's what you're doing, Sinan, but it's always like a risk, isn't it? And I'll be interested to see what is you're putting out, but like, yeah, it's not something I will ever try to do, is game the algorithm, because I don't trust myself to get away from, like, I wouldn't trust myself to not be the one being gamed in that situation. I get the point that having some capital logic with your videos, but at the same time, getting that bag. We don't live in a moneyless society, so you kinda, yeah, I do that stuff. Like, I have a Patreon, I keep stuff behind paywalls. I fucking, I've encouraged people to do super chats because, like I said, I do need to get that bag. Like, it's something, yeah. You can go too far the other way, where people are like, yeah, you just, we live in a money society. We need to make money, so just do what you need to. And then you get into places like Hassan, where it's like flaunting him wearing a $1,000 shirt, and people are like, oh, but you know, it's the personal moralisms of one socialist isn't that important. And then you're also like, well, you know, come on, making thousands and thousands of pounds off of donations from some people and then flaunting a massive amount of wealth isn't great. So, you know, there's shades of grey there as well. Hello, I am a consumer, yeah. Video game review. Oh, Sinan, you're good. Video game review is good. Yeah, fuck it. Just wondering to what extent you actually recommend going into academia. I would love to, but worry about what I've heard from friends. Yeah, I mean, this is something I struggle with as well. And it's something my supervisor has talked to me about as well. Like, I love doing my PhD. Like I love doing this stuff. I genuinely love it. One of the reasons I can do it is because I have family support, because I'm lucky enough to be from a stable middle class background. So that's one of the only reasons. It's the only reason I can do it. Is because I have familial support to do it. In more ways than just financial. Like, my dad being an academic helped me do a lot of the stuff. So I'm in an incredibly privileged position, which it would be easy to go, these are all these problems, but if you love what you do, go for it and achieve your dreams. But I wonder if that could be a bit, I don't know, exploitative or kind of shit advice, because you might not have those sort of things that I had, and it might not be good for you to do that. But on the other hand, I don't want to discourage people who don't have that from doing something that they love. My advice for you would be, if it's something that you really want to do, if it's something that you feel like is something that you would like to make your career into, and I hate to bring it back to careers, but if it's something that you want to bring your life to, and you can find a way to do it, then you should go ahead. Because, like I say, I love doing it. And it is genuinely, I feel, where I should be. I love doing teaching. I would be happy being a fucking teacher in a university anywhere. Don't have to be fucking designing courses or anything. I'm just happy to be talking to students about their shit. And that's all I really want. And if it's something that you want, then all I can say is I hope you find a way to make it work for you. But it is difficult, and no one should disabuse you of how difficult it is to find to get into the work. One of the sort of problems right now with academia is there will be lots of jobs for early career researchers, and they will be low paid and they will be insecure. So there's also a level to which you'll be like, is it worth spending 10 years of your life moving around whichever country you're in doing low paid insecure work? Maybe not. That's all I can say on that. Yeah. I don't want to discourage people from doing it, but I don't want to like haphazardly encourage people to do it as well, you know. It's a sort of weird position to be in. Yeah, quite saying it is weird to think of yourself as a consumer, especially in like sort of what essentially I do is educational sort of content. It is weird to think of yourself as a consumer for that. Thank you, Lulu. It's a nice shirt. I do enjoy this shirt. I've not worn this shirt in a long time. I like it. Yeah, I did like the meme choice. I've also found about academia is you have to pay for a certain amount of labour too, especially if you're in a popular field, and maybe not so much in the public eye. They expect outreach. John might not deal with this problem because there might not be this problem to be expected to talk about human rights, but my PhD is compact now. 100%. My entire teaching this year has been for free. I've been teaching master courses for free because I have no other option to do that. Free labour is endemic in the academy. Grapes, we'll get to the grapes in a second. I'm nearly finished this wine and I'll swallow some more grapes whole if you're lucky. Yeah, the academy is built on free labour. Do I have any thoughts on ableism in the academy? I mean, so that we'd be entering something that I would have to do more research to talk confidently in. The academy is not a good place really for anyone of any protected characteristic. There the whole structure of it is disabling. That's simply the case. The way, I mean, we saw during COVID the ways in which universities suddenly made some accommodations to disabled students, as well as disabled lecturers, disabled academics who oh no, these aren't olives, these are grapes, frozen grapes to chill out the wine, because you can freeze grapes and it cools down your wine without diluting it. I don't know if anyone knows about that. Yeah, the academy is very disabling as an environment. Just everything about it. It really is. It's not a good place. It's bad for. It's racist and it's homophobic and it's disabling in a great many ways. You also have the other side of the problem where, and this is the same with race and homophobia, where those academics from protected characteristics who can, or who do by chance, make it in those fields, produce a certain amount of sort of discursive force within the areas that they work in, which isn't necessarily strongly connected to the movements in which they often try to represent. So a good example of this would be, I mean, when I was conducting my research, a person from the disabled people's movements described why the human rights, why the disabled people's movement is fond of the rights of persons with disability from the UN, and it's because, in their own words, it wasn't drafted by some academic disabled person, but it was designed by the people in the movement. So there's a lot of suspicion on that sense. And another good example being that, in terms of, say, decolonial work, a lot of decolonial work is done at a distance from the movements that they purport to represent, and doesn't critique, say, the institutions that they exist in. It doesn't critique the existing ministerial structures between universities and oil funds, or universities and arms manufacturers, and all this stuff. So it's not necessarily a particularly good place for any movement or any person in a protected characteristic. But like everything else, nowhere is. Like, society is disabling, society is racist, charities are shit. So you're gonna have trouble sort of finding a place that isn't any of these things. Which isn't an answer. It's me rambling. Yeah. I've heard academia described as one long hazing ritual. Yeah, I mean, the big problems are with free labour and all that shit. A lot of the time, a lot of like research is produced by early career researchers, then essentially stolen by professors. The whole fucking peer review system is based on free labour. Lots of free labour on teaching, underpaid teaching. It's not a good place to be. It's a hard sort of thing to try and graft through. Yeah, Spoopy Spoony. Saying, I realised that's why I'm trying to do YouTube. I have a lot of thoughts, I guess. How many of the so-called greats wouldn't have managed in the current climate? Yeah. And it's one of the benefits of YouTube, being, I mean, it's not democratic, but being somewhat accessible to people is a good thing. Sorry, tinfoil hat. Do I like hats? I don't. I'll come back to the question on YouTube in a second. Hats are weird on me because the only hats that look good on me are hats that wankers wear. Like big wide brimmed hats, they look good on me. But I look like a dickhead. Like I look like like a guitarist or a lead singer in a fucking 2010s era indie band, but I'm afraid they just look good on me. Other than that, yeah, no, I don't really wear hats very much. Yeah, it's hats don't fit me. Uh, had the experience of being fully plagiarised by folks several times, and several grad students have tried to hijack our work. Wow, I've never had that experience. I do know a guy who's academic, a historian of tattoos, who found that there was he's a historian in England, and he found that there was a guy in Canada who'd been plagiarising his work to the extent that he had to copy the guy's tattoos for it to make sense. So like this guy, just like found out that this guy had been plagiarising his work and copying his tattoos and like dressing like him and everything. And the guy was like the academic was like, oh, I was encouraged to see that my published papers got a first in this undergraduate's plagiarised work, but a weird sort of situation where it's almost like his entire identity was stolen. To my knowledge, I've not had that happen to me so far, but I guess it's only a matter of time. Can we please get more leftist discourse to centre, or at least include disability and actively listen to disabled people? I mean, yeah, I would hope so. It was one thing, I don't know if anyone here's on Patreon, but one of the things that was strange about the book, that was the review I did of this book on care work, was the strange way. Yo John, do you think my friend Peter would enjoy your stream? 100%, yeah, send him away, he would love it. Yeah, it was a strange way that she dealt with disability in that book, where disability, it was like the issues were invoked, but it didn't alter the narrative or the themes of the book at all. It didn't alter the structure of the book. So the author would talk about how disabled people frequently don't like the term care because it's patronising, it implies a lack of control, various different reasons. But that doesn't stop her from continuing to talk about care. In the context of disability, it doesn't make her change the cover, the title of the book from A Crisis in Care. And I think that's a big problem with some of the way that leftists or left-wing people deal with things like, with disability, but also with other things. Like, a lot of people will deal with, the way people deal with race is, but they'll invoke, oh, this is racist, but it won't alter the frames in which they view the world. It won't alter their understanding of the world. The way people talk about like racial capitalism, they'll be like, oh, it's just capitalism with white supremacy, but that's not really true, and it hasn't altered their understanding of what racism is in that context. And a good example for disability within that book as well was how the author brought up that in the UK, 6 out of 10 deaths from COVID have been of disabled people. And the author left the question hanging. She was like, what could possibly have caused this? We should ask this question. Why have 6 in 10 COVID deaths been of disabled people? She doesn't go into detail of why that might be. And it wouldn't necessarily have been a huge diversion in the book to do so. She could have easily done that,
But a few pages later, she talks quite in depth about how the elderly are undervalued in capitalist systems, in the particular neoliberal system in which we live. And it's very, you know, it why answer this one question and not this other question, you know? Yeah, the disability. I think it's true. The disability discourse coming out of universities that I can't access. I mean, it's what. Yeah, I mean, the way that these things are separated from the people that they concern is not something that a lot of people are willing to contend with. Yeah, it's not many. It's not very good. John, how would you describe your child to someone like my friend Peter? Who's your friend Peter? What's your friend Peter's deal? Tell me his deal and then I'll craft a way to describe it to him. Yeah, there's a huge disconnect between the academy and between the social movements. As one of the things in my PhD research, one of the things that I've come to the conclusion is that I don't want to continue on research with stuff that I'm not directly involved in, because part of my PhD research has been talking to groups that I'm not involved in. Some of it has been talking to groups that I am involved in, and that's been fine, or with friends who are involved and people I've connected to through that. But some of it has been approaching people and approaching groups that I have no connection with and asking them if I can talk to them, and that feels incredibly. It feels like I'm commodifying their experience for my benefit. It doesn't feel useful to the movement. So it's certainly something going forward. If I do go forward in academia, I would not want to produce any research about social movements that I am not actively involved in. And academia and the way it's structured pushes you in the opposite direction, where it pushes you to be objective and say, oh, you can't talk about stuff that you're actively involved in. You should be talking about stuff that is there's some distance to. But I think a more effective way to produce useful work for my politics, as well as just not feeling like a piece of shit, would be to produce stuff that I'm actively involved in. And it probably would produce more effective research as well, because I obviously know with greater detail the stuff I'm directly involved in. And I think some of the problem with stuff like disconnects between movements and the academy is that push to John likes wine, as did Jesus. Yeah, it's true. I'm very much like Jesus. Yes, I lost the train of my thought. Your friend's a Christian, bit progressive politically, is looking to learn more. Okay. I mean, if he's looking to learn about why is the world fucked in the specific ways in which it's fucked? Why does it feel wrong? I've got some answers about that. Everyone wants to know why the government is doing the things that the government is doing. I've got some answers about that. If he wants to know why, yeah, I mean, what's the? My specific thing is talking about. Hello, hope I smell. Nice to have you. My specific thing is talking about the governing ideology of governments at this time. So if you want to know why governments are doing what they're doing, I can provide you answers. I am going to get another wine. I will be back in 1 minute. Then we'll maybe change up the song. It's been a while and we've been doing some heavy chats. Yeah, Theo, you're right. They're often pressured to specialize in their particular characteristic, but there's still a distance in the way that works. So they're specialized in a particular way. So and that way doesn't necessarily help to understand the particular characteristic in which is supposedly being elucidated on. Yeah. We've been yeah, we've been chatting kind of deep shit for a while. Let's pour a wine. Let's get a new tune on the go, and let's get some fun on the go. We're on the last of the wine anyway. There's plenty of hope everywhere. I am constantly of the position that there is hope. Constantly and everywhere there is hope. There's hope in the people who do the shit that needs to get done, and the movements that are embryonic, fractured but still existing. Just a couple of weeks ago, we had a big victory in the housing group that I'm involved in, which is great. We have hope in these places. We find hope in those situations. Let's get some fucking music. What are we thinking? What sort of music do we want? What are we thinking? So let's try and do something dancey.
That's a fun wee background one. How are we doing then? We cheering up a little after that long kind of grim, like more reserved period. And you try to use streams to up the vibe, and you still talk about the terrible things. Tell you what though, you don't die. This wine is very chilled out, and it's because of the grapes, which are frozen to keep the drink cool without diluting it.
Frozen grapes. You're right, Birdie. It's amazing, isn't it? Oh no, it was not your fault, by the way. It was we. Sometimes it's good to talk about the more serious things and not just watch a man swallow grapes whole on stream. Sometimes you need to do more than watch someone swallow grapes whole on stream. It is important to stay hydrated. I'm probably gonna drink some beer after this wine, which I encourage you to stay safe when you're drinking. But I mean, I'm using today as celebration for officially finishing my fieldwork today, so we're using this as a celebratory stream. I will find any reason to celebrate. Matching socks to the I rarely pay attention to the socks I'm wearing, but I appreciate that. Yeah, it's good. The next stage is just fucking writing. No, Sean Tyson, you are good. You don't worry about yourself. It was an interesting conversation. I enjoy anyone coming in here with things that they want to talk about. Is fun for me. Anyone that I didn't want to talk, if I didn't want to talk about it, I would have just ignored your comment. That's how it would have worked. A housing victory, yeah, sure. Samuel's. To be honest, I'm confused. You were for me the chicken run guy, and now you're freezing grapes. What's confusing about that? The housing victory. The housing victory was good. So the group that I, to be clear, I was not part of the forefront of organising this. I was just present in solidarity and part of what happened. So one of the things that happens in the area in which I live, there was a temporary housing situation. A lot of single mothers were being placed in temporary accommodation in a place that was entirely unsuitable for them. And so one of the groups I'm involved in disrupted a council meeting, and we managed to get the mayor to announce that those people would no longer be forced to live in that temporary house accommodation. It was also it wasn't a full victory, because single people are still being forced to live in that accommodation, which is still not up to scratch, but it was significant that we managed to get those people out of that situation, which was good. It was quite funny that we got like shouted down by the council, and a bunch of like private security guards coming to like fucking force us out of the building was quite funny, but that that's by the by. Where are we? One John is John in a corner with a hard stance, another John in the opposite corner with grapes and balls of furry. Do chickens like frozen grapes? I mean, I will pass that on to my parents. What are some of my favourite artist bands? You know who I'm into a lot recently? Emily King. Does anyone here listen to Emily King? I love me some Emily King. Lots of like sort of neo soul sort of stuff. She's good. You should listen to Emily King. How many years into my PhD are you? About 3. 3 months. Yeah, I get you too. About 3 months. It has gone very quickly. I'm about 3 years in, hoping to finish by March. Hoping to have the full thing submitted by March. We'll see how things go. That was the victory that we had. One of the difficult things I've found, I've been trying to like coordinate between different groups. Like, Cat wants in on the stream. I will get the cat. Let's get the cat.
well, tips to get into university. Well, I'll come to the tips in a second once we've dealt with this wee bastard. He's purring. Oh, your breath smells so bad. His breath is unbelievable. I don't know. I've never had a cat with breath as bad as this wee guy's. It's amazing. How does your breath smell so bad? Wave to your fans. He is very cute. That's true. Sold you like a baby. No, don't do that. Don't do that. He will, if he's in here for any length of time, want to cause trouble. Because he is a bastard. He's already thinking about it. Look at his face. His face is someone who wants to cause trouble. What? What are you doing? Okay, that's enough. No. Don't grab the microphone. Don't speak to people. Anything interesting? No. Okay. He lets you do anything, that cat. You can pick him up, you can make him type, you can do whatever the fuck you want with him. It's bizarre. He's a bizarre animal. Someone said tips for getting into university. It's been a long time since I applied for undergraduate. Hey, Nick G. Welcome. I mean, look for the course that you want to look at and the university that you want to look at, and craft a personal statement that's related to that specific course. That's all I can say for that. For grad school tips, I'm always hesitant with like sort of things like grad school tips because people are different and people interact with it differently. I don't do well treating things like a 9-to-5 job. If I did that, I would be miserable. I get up later than that and I work later, and it works much better for me and much more relaxed. Some people deal with it. If it's much more like a job structure, it depends what you find easy. I guess the only sort of advice there is find a working pattern that works for you and don't be beholden to what anyone else says. That's all I can say. He is a very cute cat. He's a cute cat. Oh man, we've been gone for a while. This might sound wank. I know you're looking for John. My best advice is make sure
make sure you want to look up course content. Loads of people fall into it and don't end up being fulfilled. That doesn't sound whack, that sounds like good advice. Okay, here's the plan. Unless anyone's got any more sort of burning questions, I'm going to do one more tune. We're going to finish this glass of wine and then we'll call it a day. Does that sound good with you all?
Sorry, I fucked that up there. I'll sort that out. That's a fun one to end on, isn't it? Burning questions then. Last burning questions. Get them in while they're hot. We're doing the last burning questions, and then we're calling it now. Middle name. Do you want my mother's maiden name as well? One of my middle names is Lindsay, after my uncle. It's interesting that the name Lindsay is a sort of traditionally guy's name. I think you might have lost me for a second. Birdie, it would be a fucking pleasure if you to draw me, of course. That's something I've never had, is anyone any art, which it'd be lovely. Did I know that if you put frozen grapes in wine, it chills it without diluting it? That's interesting. I'll remember that in future. Holly is a nice name. I do like the name Lindsay. Lindsay, I've got two middle names. One from my mum's side, which is Lindsay, and the other from my dad's side, which is, I'm not going to put my full name out on the internet for security reasons. But it's nice having both. Yeah, that's good advice. Spippy Spinny, that's good advice. Alright. Last call for things. I want to do some YouTube. YouTubers like, be cool to put them as background characters in my comic when I'm done. That'd be incredibly cool. Yeah, absolutely do that. You absolutely have my blessing to do that. Do I think African American reparations are a capitalist electoralism trick or something that should be demanded for us by comrades? I don't think I'm the person that should be talking about the limits of reparations for African Americans. I think if that's something that people want, then that is something that is our duty to support. There are obviously ways in which that could be done in a more sort of liberal way and more radical way. I would support the more radical way. I mean, yeah, it's not something I'd be particularly comfortable opining about, particularly right now. I've not done enough research on it. Yeah, if you're able, you should hang out on the Discord if you can. We'll call that a day right there. Great, a good stream, everyone. Thanks for hanging out. And I'll leave you for a couple minutes with some music, just to chat. Cheers for the good vibes.